Alrighty, so we are back with the Behind the Scenes Funny Thing About Love podcast with the cast, the crew, and the talent behind All Black's new Funny Thing About Love coming out June the 11th. And I am sitting here inside the home that we filmed this movie in with our incomparable director, Miss Tailiah Breon. Woo, 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 woo. How you feeling, Tailiah?
I feel good. I feel great.
You feel great. I do too. I think, after our premiere, I think after the movie has come out today, I think that you have really had a week. How are you unpacking this week for yourself?
Yes, it's been a week, but it's been a very great week. Like, this is what we dream of. It's why we do the work. So for that, I'm very grateful to just be on this high and actually have something that I need to recover from.
Amen.
So, yeah.
Because some people at this time, we know the industry is, we're switching. We're selling houses and insurance.
Absolutely.
And movies is falling down the list. So.
Yep.
Completely get you. Well, Tailiah, your role in this film was as a director, right, to pivot on to this project. And you have been in Atlanta as a director for how long would you say, personally?
I've been in Atlanta for 8 years now.
Okay.
Yep. Almost at that 10-year mark.
We're almost at the 10-year mark. So how have you seen it change over time since the time you started to now?
Man, a lot. When I first got here to Atlanta, it was just booming. Music video scene, the film scene, a lot of shows are being shot here, and that's still the case, but I feel like since COVID and since the strike, I think those have been two of the most pivotal events that have really changed the climate of just filmmaking like we used to know it. I mean, videographers was working just as much as like a union director was. Like there was so much work, and there has been, I think it's just gone quieter. There has been decline. It feels like the opportunities are still here. They're just a lot more few, for sure. So I say, like, I've seen that happen very prevalently in the last 2 to 3 years.
Interesting.
Out of the 8 years I've been here, yeah.
Yeah. So this is post-strike, and according to the film office, we were one of the only feature films recording at that time through the film office in the month of June.
Okay.
So in your experience, how many projects a year are you doing, and what was it like to kind of be the project in town during that time?
Blessed. Very, very, very blessed.
Yeah, that of course. Yes.
I think that, like, on average, when I first kind of got my first film, I was kind of doing one feature a year. And in between that, it would just be music videos. It would be content driven work. It would be short films. And I think right around that COVID period, I started seeing 2, sometimes 3 films a year, which I know is not necessarily typical for everyone. So I'm grateful for that. But that's kind of been what the ratio has been like consistently. I would say at least 2 or 3 a year. This has been the first year in a minute where it hasn't been like that. So, yeah.
Interesting. So this is the first year of choosing projects that has to have more meaning, I'm assuming, because you have less chances to make an impact. So
now I'm also being met with projects that's in development. I'm usually brought into the room or interviewed once the script has already gone through that process and it's done, and now it's just like, okay, we just need a director. I feel that now, because I've been doing it enough, I'm kind of now thought of still during the development process of something that's coming up, which takes a little longer. Because before I just know about it when it's ready.
Right. We get the money's there, the contract's already in place, you the last one.
And it's been humbling because you could have 4 or 5 projects that are all cooking. So it's like, okay, I know what's on the way, but it's on the way. It's not here. And you don't necessarily know it's going to hit.
Yeah. And you got the bills today.
Today, yes, right, very much so. Versus 1, 2, 3 films, but they done, they locked and loaded. When they calling you, dates are already sent. Let's get to work.
Yeah,
you know?
let's make it.
So that has been an interesting transition for me.
Okay.
Like technically, it's the fruit of growing.
Yeah.
But it take longer to cook.
I like that. It takes longer to cook, but it don't mean it ain't in the oven. You know, it don't mean it ain't in the oven, but you hungry.
Stomach grumbling.
Today. You're right.
But hey, we know it's cooking.
Okay. I get you. I'm here with you. It's you there, you know? So pivoting to Funny Thing About Love, right? Yes. And this project that we just released here. Of course, we had started talking a lot sooner than the movie came to. Son Fraser kind of connected us first, but funny enough, your name had been floating around.
Okay.
The first year. I don't know if you remember a romantic. It was like a date night type of short film that you had done.
Yes.
And we were in the studio watching that on our TV, and that was my first time hearing about Tailiah Breon from one of the A&Rs at our place. So. Talk about Funny Thing About Love and where that sits in your catalog. I mean, you have so many different projects that you've done, from music videos to shorts, and now, you know, some of the most successful shows, I mean, TV movies that have been on Lifetime have come through, you know, your scope. So we'd love to hear where does Funny Thing About Love sit for you, and how is it different or similar to some of the other stuff you've done?
First of all, I did not know that. Yeah. That was great insight.
This is an exclusive.
Wow.
You know, your name is in the room.
That's what's up. No, because I remember, I think you're talking about What You See Is What You Get.
Possibly.
And that was during COVID when work wasn't really happening. So you found ways to stay creative. So really that is a callback moment for me of just how remaining creative and not waiting for a call to be creative can come back full circle for you. So that's pretty dope. Yeah. But anyway,
you know, you putting the work in, man.
Yeah, that's really cool. Your question was,
your catalog is varied, wide, big. How is Funny Thing About Love compared to Final Play versus Tempted by Love versus Stepsisters versus all these different shows that you've done, different genres? You know, I know recently you have one that you just finished up that's been the thriller with Sky Black, and Burgundy Baker. So just wanted to see, like, for this movie, where does this sit for you? Is this one of your is this the type of rom-com you like to be known for?
Absolutely.
Is this one that's different? Talk to us about what you like in your taste.
Funny Thing About Love, like, literally not stroking anything. I wanted a funny thing about love. I did. Wow. I'm a lover's girl.
Okay.
I really am.
Okay.
And there are some other films that obviously are about romance and drama. I have some that I think deal more in like a more mature season of age, like the Terry McMillan collection. That's a woman of a certain age, you know. So what I appreciated about Funny Thing About Love is just having a romance that was as equally dramatic for this time and for this like age group. I don't necessarily have that, and I think that was important. I also think a lot of time with rom-coms, they typically have a certain expected structure, and while I like it, it's predictable. And I think Funny Thing About Love kind of broke those bounds a little bit. Like, you kind of go unserious sometimes when it comes to a rom-com.
Yeah, it gets a little
in a way that
campy.
It gets campy. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. It gets campy and it's expected. And what I liked about Funny Thing About Love is it still preserved heart that wasn't gimmicky.
Yeah.
But I'm still laughing.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's still giving me all the chaos and mess that we want. But it was grounded in a way that I don't always think rom-coms are. Rom-coms are supposed to be campy. You want to feel a little love, but you don't want things to be too deep. And somehow Funny Thing About Love was equally deep as it was, let's just laugh. These are relatable, funny moments. And I don't always think that's easy to do, nor do I always think it's approached that way when it comes to rom-coms. And everything don't have to be deep for me, but I do like depth. So I enjoyed being able to like lean into that. Yeah, I enjoyed that this time. Like, I appreciated the plots that were created where it's really not easy to point a finger, such as this. Like, it wasn't rom-com rooted in this is so dumb. I love it.
Well, yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
I got you. Yeah. Like it took it so seriously until it did.
Yeah.
But then it also continued to keep the comedy in proximity to the
yes.
drama.
And it wasn't a tonality where you knew right away, okay, I know this is something I'm not supposed to take serious.
Right. And even to pivot to that, right? So our premiere was on Sunday. And we had a chance to hear this in front of a live crowd. Now, that probably wasn't your first time hearing that. Let's talk about some of what the reactions you thought. You know, were things expected? Were there new moments that you saw that were like, I didn't know that was that funny?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I enjoy a good drama. You know, I think we were all waiting for that flashback graduation moment where we kind of learn what happened here and what was the pivotal change. And I enjoyed this because when the trailer dropped, I saw I already saw Teen Mouse forming in the comments. I already saw the male versus female conversation where the men go, man, he better not take her back.
Right.
From just looking at teasers of a trailer.
That's it.
And that literally is the reflection of life itself.
Yeah.
We see glimpses and we like, man, you better not.
Yeah.
So that's why I like making movies. So it's like, and y'all keep that in mind as you keep watching this.
Okay.
So now to see the graduation party, to see what really happened, to see what was misinterpreted and how it's just been a compound effect. I love moments like that where whatever you thought is not quite that simple.
Yeah.
So now let's unpack it. And I also enjoy, it's very small, but I was intentional on this, so I'm glad to see it paid off. So if you notice, Alice kind of had an issue as a dance coach, in my opinion. But that's because she's carrying baggage because this isn't really where she wants to be. She wants to be a dancer. And what her dreams originally were didn't happen that way. So now you're projecting this on these kids in this class.
Okay,
right? So she kind of, you know, she was a little, you know, she was a little diva coach. So what I found interesting is when she got back with Miles, and they had their night together. The next day in another dance class, whole different energy. And it was simple. All she did was say she just did her 8 count like she always did. But I remember being there when we were shooting that, and I said, keep in mind what just happened the night before.
I think we saw that.
You know, I'm like, there's a change of energy. There's a different spunk you have when you come back. And she gave it, and just to hear the audience laugh, I was like, great, they caught it.
And I think
they caught it
with subtlety in some of these movies. Like, there's so many moments that are implied and not in the dialogue. There's so many jokes that, I mean, we saw even on set that, you know, we couldn't. Christel had jokes in there, but it's like our characters are living beyond the page, right? So what's one of your favorite scenes to shoot that offered you the most creative control? You know, and that's the producer asking the question. What's one of your favorite scenes from the film did you enjoy that you feel like was kind of, we did that? Or was it all kind of baseline, we did all that actually?
I mean, I would say all the above. I'm going to give you a comedic one and then just one in general. I think one in general is that band we pulled together. Like, that wasn't quote unquote scripted.
I know.
It was like that was a matter of trying to be as true as possible to what an HBCU campus is like, and how can we do that without presence of a band in some way or another. So I'm just really proud of us as a team stretching ourselves to figure out how to bring stuff in that technically wasn't on paper. And I know, you know, we all know the risk involved in that. We know the work involved
Yeah.
in trying to make things like that happen. So I think that was definitely like a moment where I'm like, man, we did that.
Yeah, we gave
and they
it some-
sounded amazing. It added so much. It became the opener to the movie. It set the tone. We didn't even have them in uniform, and ain't nobody miss it.
Yeah. No.
You know?
Because it was vibes.
Yeah.
And it was Hunter. Especially, just, I know we wanted to shoot on an HBCU campus. I remember we were scouting. And, the cost just wasn't there to at a real school. So
who would know?
Right?
Who would know?
Even as a,
we had the flag up and everything,
yeah,
like they do on the campus.
Like, shout out to the art team, because, we were in the world of Hunter.
Background extras, too. We done created fraternity, frat brothers out there. Like, no one has a clue. We know. But it's like...
how much... Yeah.
The way you can stretch a coin and make it $5.
Yeah. And too, and speaking of coins and budgets and $5, right? So for this movie, of course, All Black is our studio who helped us to, fund and bring this project to life. What was it like working kind of under some of the constraints of, a project that I think we had a 12-day shoot. We had locations. The house was like 10 locations in one. We had rain and all those things. How does budget affect the creative process, or does it not have an impact for you on the creative process?
It always has an impact. What are we talking about?
Right. I'm not going to give you the artsy answers.
No, it definitely does have an impact, but I will say you choose what kind of impact.
Okay.
It always has an impact, but you choose what kind. And so for me, I always like to choose numbers create ramifications, and to me that's beginning of creativity. I feel like creativity is birthed in lack, because that's the only thing that gets your mind to think greater. So it's a challenge that I don't run away from, not necessarily saying I'm inviting it, but I also get excited from it. Like, if it's here, I'm excited because, okay, tell me what we have to work with. And then I have my objective. I have what I know the vision is and what I've been trusted to do. Now my job, my challenge is to figure out how to bridge the gap. And that's always fun to me. I feel like that's the call as a director. So, yeah.
So, no. Ain't no challenge. It's just finesse.
It's a challenge. The challenge is the point.
The point.
The challenge is the point.
That's why we're here.
Yes.
Absolutely. And speaking of challenges,
the challenge is the high.
Yeah.
Because, if we had all the money to have a band there, it wouldn't feel the same seeing us shoot that band on that field the way it did. You know what I mean? Right. That's expected.
Yeah.
But it's like when you do the things that aren't expected, when we do the things that weren't in script.
Yeah.
Then that's when you can feel something. It's like, yo, we did that.
Yeah. We did it.
You know what I mean?
And it sold the world without requiring the budget to increase for the world. And I think that's a very interesting play as with us and movies that are shot in Georgia. We're always reconstructing worlds in the middle of the West End, right?
Yes.
So we were definitely in a part of Atlanta that I'm familiar with, you're familiar with for the most part.
Yeah.
What was it like to shoot in Atlanta in the West End, like with this type of arrangement, right? Because I know you've probably been on sound stages before, and so many other projects have been in multiple places, but we were in the middle of the city. Yeah. So how was that experience like shooting?
It's always good to, it's always good to be, because of that, in locations you haven't been yet. It's like, man, fresh canvas. But equally, to go to areas you're already familiar with, I would say it's a different excitement, but it's just as equivalent, because you're challenged with knowing you've been here before, but no one would know that. And somebody might have seen another film that I've done, but they don't know that we were there. And that's how different you make the world feels. That's in your angles, that's in your shots, that's in the lighting, that's in how you feel the frame, that's in the coloring of it. That's the fun part.
That's the fun part. I think our if you look at a few Miss Breon's movies, you'll see some similarities. If you're from the Atlanta area, you're like, oh, I know that bar. I know these places.
Yeah.
Okay, copy. Got you.
Mm-hmm.
Makes
It feels
even
completely
in-house,
different, and
it
I
feels
love that.
different. Yep.
Like, to be honest, the bar that we have Alice talking with Mecca at is the same bar we used with Garcelle and Leela Rashawn from
Correct.
Tempted by Love.
Different shots, different lighting, different setup.
Different, whole different tone, whole different story. The coloring is different. The shots are different.
They have good wings too. Good wings.
Great wings.
Good wings.
But it's like, this is the stuff you can't make up. Like, it just feels like a different world, you know? And I love that.
Absolutely.
No one knew there was a karaoke area from Tempted by Love over there.
But guess what?
But guess what? Funny thing about Love, found out.
And the stripper pole in the back.
Hello? That's what I'm talking about.
How it needed to say. Tailiah, I want to pivot a little bit even more to your kind of motivations as a creative individually. You know, of course, being a director, and more specifically being a Black woman director on set, right? Me as personally, and of course on the studio, that is a priority for us. What is your creative kind of process like when you're approaching a film where there is a Black woman who is the lead of the film, right? Where you're putting some of your own experiences into the character and you're able to kind of mature a scene in a way that is, your lens will be different than that of, you know, a male director or even a white guy directing it. What's that process like for you? Are you a person that has a playlist that you listen to get the scene right? Are you a person that, you know, is a painter? You know, what's that process look like for you?
Yeah. Well, I thank you guys for being attentive to just the importance of who is a part of bringing the vision to life as well. I think for me, I just trust the initial perspective that I get when I read it, because I am a Black woman living a Black life in a female's body with a female experience. So it's like just that alone, I think inherently already comes with the interpretation of just reading it outright. So I think initially it's just reading it for what it is and trusting the perspective that just naturally comes because of the shoes that I walk in. And I think apart from that, now you have to think about who's carrying your story. Now you're thinking about your cast. And so that becomes a different study session where, okay, I have my own interpretation and my Black experience as the woman that I am. But then let's say for our movie, you know, then we cast Courtney George. And she's Black like I am. She's a woman like I am, but she's her own Black woman. So now I need to sit and get to know who this person is and get a feel of her essence, her aura, her speech, her cadence, you know, to now revisit the script through that perspective. And I think we collaborate. I think it's a little bit of allowing her to be who she is, and that version of herself shows up in Alice that we're creating. And sometimes we'll have shared relatable moments, and then other times she walks differently than I walk, and I relinquish her to walk through the doors Alice in the way she naturally moves, because that's what's going to translate the most authentic, you know.
Absolutely.
And kind of just approaching it like that.
Absolutely. And I know one of the topics of conversation these days are intimacy scenes, and the care that is associated with those scenes and the way that they're directed and what kind of emotion is communicated. I know when we were on set, that was a priority for me to make sure that everyone felt different, everyone moved the plot forward, and everyone had its own character. So for you, what were your kind of inspiration to make those scenes different, that had its own kind of inspiration to move it across the creative lines, instead of just each one where it's like, this is what we doing. Right. No, totally. Why your clothes are.
Totally. So story needs to be what informs you. Story is what also makes it safe for everyone involved, I've noticed. So like, because in otherwise, what are we talking about? What is this sourced? You know, an intimacy scene is intimate. So if I'm just fabricating ideas on my own, that's not a safe space for anyone, because it's not sourced somewhere. And so it was easy to do that from looking at the story, right? Like, let's take, for example, Miles feeling betrayed by his, freshly ex-girlfriend. So now you're returning to the girl who broke y'all up in the first place. Spoiler alert. So, like, when you look at the story, that particular intimacy scene is not rooted in love in the same way. It's rooted in revenge. It's rooted in hurt. It's rooted in projecting. So that's going to look a certain way. It's going to feel a certain way. It's going to move a certain way. The scoring of the scene is going to be different. Therefore, the positions chosen and what's being discussed with IC is going to be reflective of that kind of story. Then let's go to Miles and Alice when they're intimate in their dorm room. They're younger. They're a little bit more innocent. They're in love. They haven't gone through certain pains that they go through later in life. So that's going to move a certain way, look a certain way. The song is going to be a certain way. And now let's go 10 years later. And I'm going to wrap this up. To when they reunite, now we're talking about love after hurt. Where now we're both having to choose to be vulnerable enough to try again. Same thing. That just carries a different sound, pace, all the above. So that's kind of how I approach it. Yeah. And now that gives a place for the characters to embody it because it's sourced somewhere. Right. It's not someone just fabricating and fantasizing, because that's what's not safe. Yeah.
They're creating a narrative that's not on the page about how this should be and what their preferences and tastes are.
Correct. It's connected to an emotional story.
Got you. And I know you mentioned songs, so we had to dive into the. I'll let you tell us what your favorite song for the movie is. But how does music impact this scene? All things considering. Yeah. You have 5 songs on the cue sheet from Plenty About Love?
Four or five.
4 or 5.
Yeah.
Share. Where'd that come from?
Man, timing. So I recently, got into doing music a year ago, and it just conveniently aligned where now this film we did together has music and has scenes where the music is just very fitting. And you know how it is when you get in post, we talking about budget, resources. It's not always easy to find good music that feels familiar versus library music. So it matters. It really does. So, I mean, that was just a win-win all around. It's exciting. It's exciting for me to see because, when you hear the songs, it does one thing, but now when you see how they work together with a visual that was completely unintended, it just like gives it new life all over again. But hands down, the favorite song I think is 2, but really Interested. Like, come on, it goes without saying. Okay. The song Interested that plays in Miles and Alice's intimacy scene 10 years later after the reunion, I just thought was very beautiful. Like I didn't hear it hearing myself. Right. I was yo, this really hits. This really works. And to me was a true testament of just the power of music. Like, I felt like I was an observer. Yeah. Like I didn't have anything to do with creating that. And it just worked beautifully. Yeah. So.
And in the theater, I think you really amplified the music of the film because you could hear more of the Foley that's involved with the sound. I remember with the Alice Miles intimacy scene, of course, that's the one where, will they, won't they, and now we're here. They had the chimes at the top of the movie, at the top of the song that then scored into the music. And the music kind of found its way on through the rest of the scene and kept the pace of it in a way that made you kind of sit with with those moments. So,
and it's like literally lyrically reflecting all that she was feeling in that moment. So I thought it was beautiful. I was like, wow.
Yeah. I think it was definitely one that the theater, we got a reaction. That scene, I think it accomplished quite a bit. But as people, nowadays are talking about, the implementation of intimacy coordinators and how to do these scenes so that everyone feels safe and comfortable, and including them in your scripts. I think you did a great job handling those scenes. And I think even more so, I don't think the script had, I don't know, did they have him taking the wedding ring off her finger, or was that a Tailiah?
That was an ad.
Moment?
That was an ad. And shout out to Zuri too, the IC. Let me just shout her out too, because she was great to work with. That was an ad for sure. I don't know what necessarily sparked that thought, but I think it was a combination of looking at the shot and seeing an opportunity, and also now that's where a little bit of me comes in, right? Yeah. Because technically, yes, she's already signed the divorce papers, but again, who are we trying to paint Miles to be? If we want the audience to fall more in love with him, he needs to be as uncompromised as possible, right? If we want the people to fully submerge in this moment, you gotta take that ring off. Yes, you know what I mean. Yeah. And also, I honestly just thought it was a beautiful like foreplay moment, low key. Like, yeah, like it helped kind of protect, I think, Miles's intentions. Yeah. But I also think it just served as a great unspoken moment. Yeah. You know, that played into the romance of it all. So yeah, combination of all those things.
Tailiah, I have to say that's one of my favorite ads.
Really?
Because that is interesting. Yes, it's a foreplay moment, but it's also kind of a visual moment of Alice ending this relationship and needing help to do that, kind of through this book, right? So you kind of find it, even though they signed these papers since the beginning of the script, her and Derek have been beefing.
But you still holding on.
And she's still holding on to this.
We gotta let that go.
Even through these moments, and now they've met together and they've had the conversation, the hard conversation. And before we get to the moment of, okay, has this character really shifted in her arc? We see that scene where he's like, yes.
Love that.
Keeps it all. And so I thought that was one of the
that
most
too, but
easiest ways
I like that.
to do that without showing the characters changing. And now throughout the rest of the film, she has the wedding ring on. So I think that was a brilliant placement in the script, because it was something that happened on set. Yes. I think that's why we need to have more folks in the room.
I love that.
With attention to detail. But Tailiah, I think you did an amazing job for this movie. I'm happy we were able to, put this in your hands. You was able to birth it.
Yes.
Exactly like how we thought, and we want to know what is next for you.
And thank you for trusting me and having me to be a part of this, first and foremost, because I wouldn't be a part of this if it were not for you. So thank you for that. What's next for me? There's something completely outside of the range of rom-com. There's a psychological thriller on the way, called Cries of the Raven. Looking forward to that.
Looking for distribution?
All the things.
Okay, all the things.
All the things. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, it's available for acquisition.
Yes. Everything he just said, can't wait to share the story behind that. But I think right now the industry is up for indies. It is up for independence. They have been doing extremely well in the box office, and it's making people have to pay attention to what they normally wouldn't, because what people are gravitating to is changing, and we don't want formula films anymore. We want to go back to just films that are well thought out and not trying to strategically think ahead of the audience.
Got it.
So I think Cries of the Raven is going to reflect that. We shot it in 8 days before Christmas.
Wow.
And
how many pages was the script?
The script was, I want to say, about somewhere between 80 to 90.
Okay.
Crazy, right?
Which is crazy.
Crazy, right?
You talk to an LA crew, they're like, "Oh, you mean for 2 pages?"
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I'm not even gonna tell you what the budget was.
We don't need to know.
But just know, if you can go under micro, if there's a word below micro.
Yeah, it's called broke fro.
Okay.
That's called shoestring. That's where we are.
But I think it just speaks to the magic of when creative people who have experience come together. They know how to make it work. Yeah. And they also know what stories will allow you to do that.
Yes.
Let me also mention that.
Play in the right sandbox.
Yeah, because this is one of those stories where it lives practically in 1-2 locations the whole movie. You already know how it goes. Yeah. So, when you hear 8 days and micro budget, you hear a little different.
We're not moving no crews nowhere.
Yeah. So that requires a certain story to keep you in it, with that being said. So I'm excited for people to see that.
Absolutely. Well, Tailiah, it's been a phenomenal chance to do this retrospective with you with the funny thing about love. Where can we find your work? On Instagram, social media, IMDb. We'd love to hear about you in the future.
Thank you. And all the above. I am on all of those platforms as Tailiah Breon, on Instagram, Facebook, IMDb as well. Website, fashion-prodigy.com.
All right. Well, guys, that is our director of Funny Thing About Love, a stream of Funny Thing About Love on All Black on June the 11th. We got one more drop from Tailiah. You know, do we want to drop an album?
Literally, I was going to the music. I'm like, how could I leave that off? After y'all watch it, if y'all feeling some of the songs, then go to Spotify because we have a playlist, don't we?
We surely do. We have a playlist, and this podcast will integrate some of those songs.
Great.
Our playlist as well.
So y'all add me up there as well, Tailiah Breon.
All right, guys. Well, this was Tailiah Breon, and we can't wait for you to watch our movie. Give us reviews, like it up, and watch what we do next because it may be just as big and just as exciting.
Definitely.
All righty. So, folks, that about wraps it up for this podcast episode. We are so happy that we could interview the amazing and talented Tailiah Breon. She has been here in Atlanta for quite some time now. She was working on this movie last summer, and now we've been able to release this out to the world, and we could not be happier that she was the one who kind of helped us to realize that creative vision. So if you have not already downloaded All Black AMC, or you're still on the fence about whether or not you want to listen to the podcast and I watch the movie, we're not judging, but all you got to do is download All Black on your smart TV, and you'll be able to get a 7-day free trial to not only watch Funny Thing About Love, but all the other amazing programming that's available on the platform today. We'll catch you in the next episode to interview our next guest. Stream Funny Thing About Love now live on All Black, and we'll look for you in the next one. That's all. Signing off.